under the radar.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
Be quiet.
I missed you.
Oh my God.
Did you just get there? Okay, yeah.
Oh my God.
We're there. I really think that AMC has done so much. I mean, he's already 2-0, but he has been picked by the two better teams. It's not necessarily indicative that he is the best hunter, but talking to various teams, everyone says, yeah, Uller is good, but you know AMC's been top pick, top ban for like 6 months now, right?
Yeah, but look, the Erlang Shen ban, Obey looks like they've done their research. Hazer's on the job.
He always is.
We got an Uller follow-up, not a surprise there, coming out of Entity.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they banned Uller over AMC, though. We'll see what else comes out. Oh, there's the AMC ban right there.
We got both. We got Uller and AMC. Okay, looks like people are both afraid of these.
Pretty Prime, one of the few guys right now that really doesn't seem to be especially comfortable playing hunters in that mid lane. He is a very traditional mage player, and part of the threat of AMC early is that you can put it mid or in the hunter role. So maybe Obey just wants to keep their options open while not giving Entity something that is heavily prioritized by basically every team.
And of course, the RTO ban coming out here. Everyone has banned her in these 3 games so far. That cripple is devastating.
She's also a really good flex pick. So, oh my God, we got an Osiris solo coming out of Azalea. First pick by Obey.
Remember, this could be for Twig in the jungle. He's played a lot of Osiris in the jungle.
Oh, yes.
With Kukulkan open, I really think this is Obey saying, if you don't take Kukulkan here, we'll just double warrior you down.
Twig just tricked me. I played with him at All-Stars, and he's like, give me Osiris every game first pick. And I just got tricked by Twig. Oh my God, Bracken coming out of Entity. This is also a flex pick. They could put him in the jungle. They could put him in the solo lane.
Fits that heavy, aggressive, CC-oriented sort of style that Paradiddle seems to like to go for. Erlang Shen is the takeaway for me is that he's a CC-heavy character, and Bracken kind of fits that.
So we see Serket here. She's probably going to be in the jungle, but she could also be played support. We saw Raffer pull her out in SPL, but it's probably going to be jungle most likely.
Do you think that they're not going to go Hell now that they have Serket on the board?
No, I feel like the Serket matchup into Hell is not that bad. Like from the outside perspective, like if you just look at their abilities, like Serket has an anti-heal, but it's just her ultimate. It's a long cooldown, and Hell can cleanse that, and she could just run away from Serket. She could pop Shell. She has Lotus Crown to get protections as well. Like there's a lot of things that Hell has that stops Serket from killing her besides the healing.
Got to imagine that Raijin's on the table here for Obey. Prime's played it a lot. I mean, we saw how dominant Yemen was with it in the last game. But the Ratatosker hover, Captain Twig, so likely going to him, but could be going into the solo lane. We saw Obey last year at World Championships using the Rat solo, but that was with Variety instead of Zalia.
Yeah, for some reason, I felt this Osiris pick, when I saw it, just felt like it was for Zalia for me. That's why I felt like I said that, but the Ratatosker coming out, it's definitely going to Twig. Raijin, no surprise at all. Prime put on a fantastic performance at Super Regionals on it. He played it 4 games against Elevate.
And there's the Geb for Entity. So I like the comfort picks. It's also 3 picks that, specifically the first 2, Bracken and Serket, that Obey really likes. They're strong picks in the meta, but they also take away from what Obey likes to do. I really like Entity's draft so far.
Yeah, and the one thing about Entity's draft is that they have kill potential in the solo lane. I think it's very important to have that as an international team because they can actually fight back. If they try to go on their speed buff, they can Serket ult them, they can get Bracken stun them, Tremor them, keep them there, and actually fight back when they come and invade these buffs, because all the teams that are in NA and EU, they're going to come and try to take your speed buff off cooldown once they get a slight lead.
But doesn't Ratatosker offer you a lot of mobility and a lot of chances to move around the map and get those buffs and confirm them?
Completely agree. And he's got excellent early damage, as does Osiris. So this 2v2 in that solo lane is going to be really critical to the outcome of this game. Entity, honestly, if they get a kill or 2 early and some buff invades, Osiris Ratatosker from behind is really difficult to play and play effectively. This is the type of composition that Obey could snowball with, but could also get snowballed on.
Yeah, so we see the Fafnir ban coming out. I think it's a really good ban by Entity. I'm wondering if they did their research. If they did the research, they'll probably ban the big tree from Emilzy.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens next.
What about this Giannis pick? I mean, obviously Obey picked Raijin, so they took that away from Sir Eclipse, who really likes Raijin. And then they took Giannis away, but I don't know if he was known for that.
I mean, Giannis is, for my money, one of the best, if not the best mid laner right now. He is really, really strong. Just the mobility's still there, but his damage became so much more consistent after the change.
Is this the first Odin ban we saw today?
No, we have seen.
No, we saw one game 1,
Game
I believe.
1?
I think it actually was both games have been.
Yeah, Odin is very, very strong, so no surprise to me about this ban at all. He's a really strong character.
But everyone can escape from Odin. Why ban him?
Well, this is kind of just making sure. Yeah, I guess you're right. No, because Geb would have some trouble. He'd have to blink out Bracken.
It's not about escaping his cage. Like, he's so hard to kill. He has so much movement speed from his passive. He has his shield as well. so you can never really go on him, and he's also just really annoying. They just buffed his 3, which is a slow. It has more damage on it now, so he's just a nuisance in team fights, and if he cages a carry, they have to waste their escape ability to get away from him.
Plus, it tells me that Entity wants to take some picks that would have gotten shut down hard by Odin, like Chiron here for Entity. And this is not a pick that we've seen a lot of as of late, but I think this is a god that's really sleeper strong, Aurora. I mean, he got a change not too long ago to have that first ability training exercise, apply the Hunter's Mark. That's really strong.
We didn't get to talk about this. That's an ISIS ban. Is that a respect ban? I don't really remember seeing Sir Eclipse on ISIS.
Has to be. Hazer must have just
research.
They seem really afraid of utility mages over in the mid lane.
That's a good point. And there's a Sylvanas that you were mentioning, Aurora, in the Izanami again for Ataraxia. Played this against Elevate. That was the game where Obey's up by 1 million, and then Elevate's able to claw back with that RTO jungle. No surprise, though, to see Obey go back to this. Ataraxia has been a fan of Izanami for a long time.
Yeah, they have some really strong pushing gods between Sylvanas, Izanami, and Raijin.
Yes, there's the Habwa going to be played probably in the long lane as the Hunter.
Could be, yeah. That's actually a really good call. Could be in the mid lane for Sir Eclipse, but honestly, I think that I like Chiron going mid in the Habwa matchup into the Izanami a little bit better.
Eclipse has gone Hunters in mid before. It's not unheard of. And Habwa has definitely been Kamiro's thing. So I think we're going to see a Habwa in the long lane.
It could work out, but you look at Obey's draft, that's just pressure across the board. Every single pick, that's one of the most pressure gods in their respective roles right now. So if Entity can kind of weather the storm and get ahead, they've got a decent chance.
Yeah, I think Obey has the advantage here, and I'm going to pick Obey to win, but I really like what Entity did with their draft. I think they gave themselves a very good chance of doing well in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Guys, you obviously said that you're going to give it to Obey. Aggro, I need to hear it.
I got to say Obey, but I agree with Aurora. I like where Entity's head's at, and this is the sort of mindset that I like to see from these international teams.
Out of all the picks and bans we see, this is definitely one of the more interesting ones. So casters, take it away.
Bro, thank you, Aurora, as well. We got Finch here, we got Tolly, and do you agree there with the desk? You think this one's going to be so far in favor of Obey?
I mean, if you look at the experience, yes, Obey Alliance, 2 times runner-up, at least from Pretty Prime and Ataraxia's perspective. They're able to really get far into these tournaments here, but this is now a best-of-1 against a Southeast Asian team that last picked Habwa. They first picked Kabrakan too, which was really smart because we looked at that first matchup there. Aquarius from Luminosity picking the Kabrakan really threw a wrench at Scylla Esports, and I was talking to Scylla after that fact. They were not prepared for the Kabrakan pick so early, and the lane pressure really allowed Luminosity to kind of, get ahead, and I think there was some note taken here, and that's why we're seeing it so early in the draft.
Yeah, I think what's been really important here so far we've seen in the tournament, Tolly, and tell me how you feel about this, it's that solo jungle pressure over there in particular, and that's opened up access to the buffs on that solo jungle side of the map.
We saw just leaving Jeff Hinla alone, for example, in the duo lane because of how much pressure Luminosity wanted in the mid and the solo lane. You get the pressure in those 2 lanes specifically. Now you're controlling the speed and the blue buff. Mask was able to really ping pong around the map after so many speed buff invades. So I think this theme of this game specifically is the pressure around those buffs, trying to get the momentum early.
And whoever it is that gets that momentum, we've seen them do so well so far here in throughout these first 2 games. It kind of felt like that's really been the crux of the games here so far. But I mean, based on what we've seen with these picks, I mean, do you think that just picks alone gives that advantage to either one of these teams?
I don't necessarily think these picks will give either side any leeway. Sure, you have Sylvanas for a little bit of control, but then you have Sarkett for the anti-heal. So there's some strategies on both sides. But what I'm really leaning towards here is just the ability to dictate the opening here, the strategies, and how these teams are going to be able to rotate to spot the opening, and more importantly, to spot the opening of the position of the players is the relic selection, if we're going to see some early hint of the god action or not, but it doesn't look to be the case yet.
We are ready here, though, to get into the game between Obey Alliance and Entity Gaming. And totally, something I want to make sure that the folks at home aren't overlooking. I mean, Entity Gaming looked like they came in doing all their homework in that picks and ban phase. They looked good, just picks and ban wise at the very least.
It seemed that they got what they wanted. Kamiru picking his favorite, Habwa in the long lane. Sir Eclipse is going to play that Chiron in the mid position. So that's going to be a lot of damage potentially here in the early game, especially with Paradiddle and Apex together, this Kabrakan Sarkett. If there's any 2 guys that can specifically combat an early Osiris towers here, you really want to have the lane pressure, anything that can clear the wave early, and that's something that Bracken will definitely help Entity out with.
Yeah, I think Bracken's going to be looking really good for them. You talked a little bit about that Habwa pick there, for Habwa pick for Kamiru. I mean, it's something that you're right, he definitely feels comfortable on. We saw them in their finals on their qualifier to get here to Worlds. They were kind of down, actually, in that, down 2-0. And they felt comfortable with Kamiru on that pick. They knew they could count on him to come out and carry on it. So here, when they need one game, put him on it.
Going against Team Viral in their regional finals, being able to just win 3 in a row after already being down 2-0 is not the easiest task in the world. So that's why they're here now at the world stage for the Hi-Rez Expo. So seeing them here against such a 10-year team as against Obey Alliance, they've done their research, they found the picks and bans that they really wanted to. We talked about Kamiru and his Habwa, but let's talk about Ataraxia and his Izanami. With this early ban of a Musin Cobb, there's not too many other gods, you know, especially with Ullr off the table, that can combat the early push that Izanami provides for your team.
And that's exactly what she has. She has a lot of pressure. So if they end up putting them both there in the mid lane, very likely, you know, they'll be able to get that out clear and then start moving on, decide where they want to have their jungle pressure. Is it go straight to speed buff? Do they want to do elementals? They likely will be able to decide that. So how well they can respond to that Izanami pressure is going to be important.
Level 1 is just so important here to dictate the early pacing. Hazer and company from Obey Alliance doing their homework, trying to really find that edge. And I think Ataraxia here, being, you know, so experienced and knowing what works, what sticks on the wall, is so important for Obey's transition between Season 3 and Season 4. You know, after losing Variety, after losing Maniac, now with Zaylia here after a little bit of a break, Obey still in a great spot.
They are in a great spot. Zaylia has that horrific emblem available to him, no sprint on the side of Entity Gaming, so that could potentially be a big deciding factor over here.
And we were talking about trying to find that early position and the vision control just to see the relics.
And this is so smart. They used to get tons of pressure, not just on the minion wave, but Apex is in trouble too, already very low. Captain Twig is hurt too, but now they're going to be able to come join Emilzy in pretty prime and get this first invade underway.
Raijin and Sylvanas, Obey Alliance, able to outpush mid, able to collapse onto that blue buff. I thought that Zaylia was going to control the solo lane aggro, which would enable the damage from Captain Twig onto Apex, but not going to be the case there. He took a little bit of damage, but he's already sustained very healthily, and Apex forced to use an early beats.
And he had to. He was in danger there. He does end up falling. Captain Twig gonna take first blood here in this game. They also took the blue and speed buff to go along with that, so things are starting about as poorly as they can for Entity.
Bluestone is a pretty good starting item for you out there. Junglers making a final early stand here. Getting first blood is so important here for Ratatasker, trying to finish off that Acorn, get more damage, get more mobility here. And we were talking about this solo jungle control in Obey Alliance, striking first blood.
And they were able to. We heard them on the desk there. Aggro said that Osiris and Ratatasker, they can be tough to play from behind. Obey Alliance, they're not going to worry about that here in this game. Already, level 4 is Captain Twig. Apex just now ticking over into level 2, and they're letting that control they have on the right side start to eke over a little bit here into the left lane as some trouble for Mashu on the get.
And Milzy trying to hit that pull, not successful this time around, but we'll definitely see a lot more attempts. And the success that he's had throughout his playing as a professional player, he's known for his Sylvanas. There was predictions on the desk, you know, with a lot of these Guardian bans that Sylvanas was left open, and that's a comfort pick for Emilzy, being able to really get it out here. Enabled Obey Alliance to get that mid pressure because of just the AoE in-hands from the Sylvanas.
Yeah, and instead, I think they end up going with the Odin Fafnir bans in those ban phases too, so now we're seeing that Sylvanas here for Emilzy, and this is what that early pressure does so well for them. Now Apex has to sit over here, can't even walk up into the lane, essentially free to do whatever they want now, are Captain Twig and Zaylia for Obey Alliance.
And it was just the relic selection, honestly, that allowed Obey to get this edge. The horrific emblem so strong early on. Teams rotate early, trying to spot these relics to find maybe the counter relic. So if you make this rotation, you see this horrific, well, guess what? Now I'm going to pick up sprint. You use that horrific, I'm going to be able to run to my tower every single time.
And sometimes you see Horrific Emblem, especially if you catch him out in the jungle, used to try and set up some kind of early kill, but I don't think that was the plan here, Totally. They used that Horrific Emblem to get the lane pressure. That was their goal. You saw Zelia go up and start taking down those archers in the back end, and it worked out perfectly for him. Now, Fire Elemental is going to be going the way of Obey as well.
I'm not too worried about the Horrific if I'm Entity Gaming here, simply because Camiro on the Hebo, you're looking at the Water Carpet, basically disabling all slows, boosting up your team's movement speed. Is going to allow them to also chase down Obey Alliance if they ever get the offensive opportunity.
And this is bad news for him. Ataraxia looks like has pressure over here on Duo side as well, or formerly Duo side. Now they're here for the spawn of this red buff, but so is Mashu here. He rolls in with Geb, gets Cataclysm. That isn't enough to lock down Emilzy, but Captain Twig gets the kill onto Apex. Actually continuing for a little bit of pressure here is Pretty Prime. Looks like not gonna be able to find anything there, but up in the air was Captain Twig.
Debating out the early ultimate from Hobwan. No escape available for him, so if he gets pulled by Emilzy, there's gonna be a lot of trouble.
Kamiru is able to find a kill, but they immediately return to Ataraxia. Credit there for taking down Kamiru, so at least finding one there in exchange for Pretty Prime.
Great positioning by Obey Alliance all across the board, trying to defend their own red buff. Not going to be able to steal it away, though. Captain Twig with his third kill of the game. 75% of the kills belong to him.
Yeah, that's rough there. And that last one he's actually been involved with, has an assist on there as well. So Captain Twig has been all over the map there for him. But I got to ask you, Totally, there towards the end, was that a little bit too much sticking around there that we just saw from Mashu? Or do you have to try and defend that red? Was he already caught out? Talk to a little bit about that very end of it where we still saw Geb fall too.
We saw Camiro trying to get in there after the fact because he tried to make something out of nothing. Mashu went in there trying to make sure that he could push them away. Obey Alliance responded perfectly because Pretty Prime went CC immune by banging those Taiko drums, making sure he wouldn't get knocked back, he wouldn't get Cataclysm or knocked up after the fact, enabled a lot of damage. And as soon as that even happened, there was a kill on the right side of the map. Apex got caught in a 2v1. Zelia and Twig was waiting for that speed buff respawn. They invaded it earlier on. They got the timer. They got the second speed buff from Entity Gaming. And because of the global pressure from this Ratatasker, after finding the kill, Captain Twig is already there in the team fight while Apex is still respawning.
Purple buff now being started up by Obey Alliance as they sit up about 3,000 gold almost, up 3 kills as well here, 5.5 minutes into the game. And that's what that early pressure has done for them so well. You mentioned how they're there on respawn for those speed buffs. That's what we're talking about. It's not so much that you snowball from that one kill, it's that you're there every time. You're in control of those timers from then on. Ultimate does come out into Kamiru though, forcing back a bit.
Nice little double ultimate by Emilzy, setting up Ataraxia for some damage as well. Twig feeling himself a little bit because he has Pretty Prime right around the corner. Sir Eclipse with the bees, forced to go into the ultimate, but he's going to be losing his life instead.
Pretty Prime ends up getting credit for it. Apex is here, but I don't think Captain Twig is too worried, at least not for the moment. Ends up going up into the air to get away from that last breath and make sure there's no chance of spreading. It actually comes out aggressively onto Mashu in the back, but not able to get any more out of it.
This is the Twig that I've seen before.
Yeah.
Very confident Twig as well. Nice advantage though for Paradiddle. This Kabrakan making it very troublesome for Zelia's Osiris. And this is why certain Guardians can really get the slight edge here. But talking about Obey Alliance's aggression, just all these little positional rotations, catching Entity outnumbered is what makes Obey Alliance such a scary team to deal with.
And I don't want to say that it's all too doom and gloom here for him. Kamiru is on that hotball, which you know he plays well. The one kill that Indie Gaming do have, it is at least on that hotball for him as well there, Totally.
And it's very easy to kind of abuse this hotball early game, just looking at his build specifically. He doesn't have any defensive relics. He went for the blink, trying to get for an early engage opportunity. He's even building to what probably might be a Warlock stash, trying to get a lot of health early on instead of mobility.
Pull does come out on the Mashu, gets a lot of free damage there onto him. Actually interrupts him in the middle of the rollout. That forces Cataclysm and the Shell to try and keep him going. Knock up, lines him up for the damage. Pretty Prime finishes it off. One more kill for Obey Alliance.
Another opportunity though for a second kill. Captain Twig is doing a great job body blocking Eclipse. Nowhere to retreat, not even under the safety of his tier 2 tower. Obey Alliance with 7 kills before the 8-minute marker. And that first kill onto Mashu, the separation of crowd controls from Obey Alliance, it was very well calculated. Pretty Prime using his dash to stop the Geb rollout, and then just at the tail tip end, Emilzy knocking him up with the ultimate.
Once again, though, Captain Twig is using that early lead that he's been able to get up, bullying out Apex on this Circuit, who really has not been able to have any kind of impact until, I mean, I feel like that's what you want from that Circuit. You want to be able to try and get some early pressure.
And that's the whole idea behind their draft. They drafted it early on as well as the Cabrakan, but it hasn't been too successful because of Zalia's weakening curse there. He was just able to really get in the pressure there. The double slows between the abilities and the horrific emblem was enough to find that first blood. And honestly, you can still come back from that first blood, but it was the secondary speed buff invade that is making it really difficult for Entity to find their footing in this game.
Now 4-0-2, top of the net worth charts here is Captain Twig on this Ratatoskr, and we have not seen him so far let up on the pressure. Gold Fury available over here on the left-hand side of the map. We're also no longer seeing that we've got those elementals available. Right side tower is going to be falling, so there's a lot of areas for Obey to try and decide where they want to put the pressure, and when you have a semi-global like Ratatoskr, you kind of are not always sure where it's going to be coming from.
And so far, so good for Obey Alliance here. They're able to get a lot of pressure throughout the map there. Even, you know, Gold Fury is just being taken, and then the Oracle's coming up, respawning. They're positioning and calling out these rotations with the pings throughout the map. They're abusing this Hobwad that's finished the Warlock Sash, doesn't have mobility available. Captain Twig is ping-ponging between the tier 2 and the tier 1 tower, looking for his next victim.
Yeah, he's so aggressive in their side of the jungle, really, in their side of the map. That's what's made it so difficult for him. There's no farm that's safe for Entity Gaming right now. Good pull, though, from Emilzy. Pulls Kamiru back into immediate damage. Has to use ultimate just to try and get away, but wrong direction. Ataraxia ends up getting credit for that. Tycho Drum actually pulls Mashi back in for the moment, but he'll be able to get out.
Did you see that sidestep, though, coming out of Ataraxia?
Yeah.
Just expecting that crushing wave from Kamiru. Great mechanics all across the board from Obey Alliance. They're really showing us this true world contenders form. I was going to say, you know, third time's a charm for these international teams today, potentially here, trying to find their win in this best-of-1 games. But honestly, looking at Obey Alliance the way they've started, I think this has been the best start out of all the North American European teams thus far. And third time might be the charm for both Ataraxia and Pretty Prime.
I like the way that you brought that back around, Joey. I really do appreciate it.
It all comes full circle.
All comes full circle. I kind of agree with you, though, at the beginning, because I thought Entity Gaming may have had the best pick ban phase we've seen of the international teams today. It really looked like they were well prepared and that they knew what they wanted to do coming in, but Obey Alliance kind of showing the experience and skill gap, I think, between some of the top NAEU teams and these international ones, at least here early, where they've been able to build themselves a rather substantial lead. Looks like right around 7,000 gold.
It seemed like they did their homework in terms of picking what they wanted to, having this Cabrakan, having the Geb, making sure that their backline was going to be in a comfortable position, but not having the push power is definitely showing its weaknesses as Obey Alliance is just collapsing onto Paradiddle.
Mashu is rotating over, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to get here in time. There's that Geb shield comes out, was able to get the stuns knocked out. Cataclysm keeps Captain Twig out just for the moment, but Paradiddle really just had nowhere to go. Twig ends up getting credit for that one, and Mashu, despite his best efforts, has to say goodbye to his soul.
Sometimes when you're a little bit behind in the solo lane, you lose your tier 1 tower, that's not always a negative thing. You can use that as an opportunity to just last hit the minions, or don't even last hit at all. Just sit relatively close to soak in that golden experience in the safety of your tier 2 tower. Instead, Paradiddle wanted to clear the wave. He just took one step too far away from that safety, and Obey Alliance are capitalizing every single time.
Captain Twig was just pulled to the tower, but at this point it seems like he's not really too concerned about it. Actually goes back in aggressively, tries to land down on Mashu, ends up actually getting knocked up underneath the tower. Last shot comes out, that's enough. Mashu catches Captain Twig getting a little too aggressive.
Definitely feeling himself, but for good reason. You know, 5-1-2 reads the scorecard. Emilzy with a double shot on the left side, so 1v1.
Aegis has already had to come out. Ataraxia able to take down Kamiru, no problem there on the left-hand side. Further aggression, though, this time a little bit from Entity Gaming, walking into the Wisp from Emilzy. They are able to lock down the stun, but Zalia has the horrific emblem.
I'm counting the members here between both these teams, and Obey Alliance are winning a 2v4 on the right side of the map. Ataraxia taking advantage of his victory on the one-on-one, gets a tower of his own, and they're not done yet with one. They want a second one. Zalia with a double.
They do get that double kill. They even have a chance to pressure 2 tier 2 towers at the same time on separate sides of the map. Ataraxia piloting right now that Izanami has tremendous tower damage. That tower on the left will surely fall. They end up giving up the one on the right, though, coming down, it looks like, for this Portal Demon objective, which is a lot more valuable here. And that one looks like no way for Entity to try and contest.
Just look at the graph. It's just like this one steady uphill climb.
Yeah.
No problem. This looks like the kind of incline that you would see at your gym, 4.5 incline, a steady little walk, brisk walk up the hill. And Obey Alliance have made it look like child's play almost against Entity Gaming here. And let's go back here and talk about this 1v1 from Kamiru and Ataraxia. When you're going any stacking item, forget Warlock Sash, literally any stacking item, finish the stacks before you go for the one-on-one. His pen boots wasn't even completed during that encounter, still was only sitting on tier 2.
And I believe he was down 4 levels at the time, too. I think it was 10 to 14 back then. Atarax able to get so much off the back end of that. They saw them take Gold Fury and Portal Demon on either side of the map. Right now, Obey Alliance sitting up about 11,000 gold. And you talked about how clean that incline was up. Well, that's the word I want to use, clean here from Obey Alliance. Mashu, though, might not be so clean. Cataclysm comes out, not enough to save him, though. He ends up taking quite a bit of damage. Shell comes out, that'll keep him alive. Jumping over the top, though, is Zelia, finishing that one off. Landing in the back is Captain Twig. He's trying to find Kamiru. Milzy ends up getting credit for that.
Finding even more kills. It's 14-2, make that 15-2. Pretty Prime banging on the drums. Eclipse trying to survive for the moment, but not gonna be successful. Even trying to min-max his damage as Pretty Prime is thinking about diving for that hot deicide, but it doesn't matter. Even if you leave somebody at 10% health, that's a technical kill anyway. They're gonna have to back to base, lose some timing, and you're gonna have this opportunity to get the tier 1 mid tower.
That's exactly what they do. Tier 1 tower in falls. 4 members fell on that last engagement. Only Apex was the one left alive. He's now joined, though, by Mashu, the Geb support, but not going to be able to do anything about this tier 2. It has now fallen. Only the tier 2 in right is left standing, and it looks like Obey Alliance are okay with that just for now. Get the mid Harpies, go ahead and back. They've got a lot of gold here in hand, 2,800 right now for Captain Twig. So go back and spend it, come back in, and then start looking to keep that siege going.
And normally we see Raijin as this typical, mid to late game damage character, but just the early momentum from Obey Alliance was just so good as he's able to really get the damage online. There's been a lot of Doom Orbs thus far from these mid mages, and I think it's a combination of confidence and being able to try to get this early momentum. Last game, I'm thinking of Nas Q that built Doom Orb on the Discordia. Normally, I look at her as a utility style mage that just wants to, get cooldowns, spam it away, but not a bad idea when you're being able to spam it anyway with your third ability.
Right now, the hero of this game here, at least for me, is going to be Captain Twig. He's looked excellent on this Ratatosker here so far, 6-1 and 4. Apex actually in some trouble here. Pretty Prime waiting patiently for his chance to drop the Taiko drum. Only 2 shots needed. Heads back over to the wave. Another kill for Prime.
The patience and the accuracy from Pretty Prime. He waited for Apex to get off of him, and then he hits the first shot knowing where he was going to land from the last breath, and then predicts where he's going to land from that third ability. Pretty Prime just playing lights out, only having 1 death thus far, but he's doing phenomenal work for his team.
Yeah, Pretty Prime has been playing excellently as well. I was just speaking about how well Captain Twig has been doing, but really you could pick anyone here on this Obey Alliance roster and say that they've had an excellent game here so far. Ataraxia basically was able to just out-pressure Kamiru over there in what was essentially a 1v1 between the two of them, as now tier 2 tower in right-hand falls. Milzy actually gets a 2-man knock-up. Eclipse very low, able to get shielded there by Geb to keep him alive for the moment. Pull just a little bit off the mark, so Milzy doesn't quite get it.
You were talking about Captain Twig and Pretty Prime, but everyone from Obey Alliance is just simply doing their job. Ability getting into that backline with the Blink ultimate, forcing people out so that the rest of his teammates can start putting pressure on these Phoenixes. All tier 2 towers of Entity Gaming have been stripped and removed, and Obey Alliance are going for their first one on the right.
They are going for on the right. Paradiddle, though, is already gone. Ataraxia gets a double kill here, takes down Masu as well. Captain Twig lands in the back. Sir Eclipse has been removed from the map. This right-hand Phoenix is not too far behind Toli. First Firebird of the game falls down, and Obey are looking for more.
A very early Phoenix, if you think about it. Before even Fire Giant was secured actually here. 17 minutes into this game, a very quick one as Obey Alliance already knocking on the door almost of the Titan with their second Phoenix down. It doesn't look like Entity Gaming are going to stop the attempt of the third one on the left.
No, that left-hand Phoenix does not look like it's going to be very long for this world. Kamiru, Mashu, Paradiddle, and Eclipse are all here, though, but it's too late to try and make any kind of stand. Phoenix does fall, and Obey Alliance look like they actually want to try and get a little bit more off the end of this. Going in aggressively, Azalea already so low as Eclipse.
can't move anywhere. Azalea with his 4th kill of the game. Ataraxia gets the 2nd of this encounter. Pretty Prime with the 3rd.
They're gonna
and
hit.
Obey Alliance, they're going for the end.
It looks like they are. Obey Alliance essentially putting on a clinic here, showing you what to do with an early lead. Kamiru able to get a kill, but it's just not quite